I'm not sure. We don't have a true business case from them, but we have a fairly senior person that's looking for kind of like a video of, like the marathon, that's one of the marathons in DC, or parade route or something like that. So just kind of being able to do like a fly-through video to show where some critical infrastructure data is overlaid on top of kind of 3D or textured buildings or mesh. I mean, there's seems like there's some activity in the space again, and our position has always been like commercial folks are always going to do it better than us, like you guys and the other folks that are out there, and we want to see what you got.
Yeah. So it's been a while since we did the quote deal of the century with Barney.
He's back.
Yeah, I saw him. I downloaded your org chart and I thought, there's Barney. So
came back about 2 years ago. Though he was gone for almost an entire year. He was the acting chief technology officer, so essentially the agency director for almost a year. And we have a new director who just started maybe a month or so ago. So he's slowly getting back into his chief data officer role.
Yeah, that's great. Well, good. Yeah, I think.
And then there's Office of Zoning. I'm sorry, that's kind of the other agency that's expressing interest. They're doing a little bit of 3D work right now on their own, and but we're going to have a little powwow here in the near future with all the agencies just to kind of see what's out there. We're just trying to get ramped up on it.
Yeah. So we're talking about different buildings here. We're talking about like textured buildings, like we're looking at here. These are oblique textured buildings. I think it was Sanborn imagery that we used here to texture. And then we've got the original project we did, which was the geometry buildings, right? Which are they have a different use. Every different building style has a different, use function. I mean, these you might want to, store data in, but there's
some of that. I'm missing a couple of use cases, but yeah, that is something that our Department of General Services is kind of the property management of the city for all the city needs. Is probably, I'm sure they're either doing something or looking to do something.
Yeah, there's still, I think 3D software is struggling to be, mainstream, right? Still, even today, it's still not. Google Earth just changed the whole perception, and then after that, there's been sort of Esri's doing their thing, and Cesium's got their thing going, and there's a lot of different software out there that does different functions, and so one of the things, I guess I'll address a couple things in terms of the data part of it. It's not too hard if you guys want to update this model, which we're sort of revisiting here in software we call Bruce. That is, pretty easy to do. All you have to do is just go grab some digital globe satellite imagery and, create a shapefile with all the missing buildings or need to be changed buildings, and then, simply model them up. I mean, it's just, it's not a big project at all. But it's a good way to keep like your base map buildings current. So that's there. That's not going to break the budget. You'll get some nice representative content like you're looking at here that you already own, and then maybe there's some new content that you can modify. But then what you can do is you can, start to look at higher resolution, like this stuff that I just showed you here. The same building with textures done with obliques, and then you can even get higher resolution by jumping into like stuff that's offered. And again, this is all being budget conscious because Mario had said, let's start with getting leverage, right? You guys, I mean, you both mentioned leverage. How do you leverage things? There's another way you can do it. There's a lot of textured buildings or quality SketchUp type buildings that are available that run on, useful software systems for the different agencies. It's all web-based. So that's another option you have. And this, we have a license with them. We can get you this stuff. You don't even have to pay for it. It's just, you just download it, convert it, and then you add a lat long to it, and you then, just put it into your maps and make it part of your data, part of your data portfolio, and you can use it license free. I'm just trying to load this Smithsonian to show you what they look like. So these are really high quality sometimes, right? Like these are like super iconic quality buildings that you can have and utilize, and we can help you with that, or we can even work with an intern to just, go through the process of downloading the building and then saving it and then getting it over into the software solution and then creating a multiple level of detail. Then you want to create an LOD file for this. So you got your geometry, your textured building, your high resolution building, and you can even go as far as getting into, like if you're working with the architects and working on designing buildings and looking into really high, kind of high-end, like scanning, like LiDAR scanning buildings and some of the stuff that you guys had talked about earlier. I'll show you an example of this real quick. This is, sorry, my phone's ringing. Hold on for a second. And let me just bring you there and show you what a kind of a BIM type world looks like. Bring it here. Just load it up for you. So this is a scanned building, and this is more like, this is like what you see with Autodesk and stuff, right? So then you can have those. So you can bring all that in, and so you have any kind of resolution that you're looking for your project, right? So that gives you the flexibility on the data side to pretty much do whatever you want to do with your data, because I'm sure there's so much 3D content that's just all over in Washington, D.C. There's so much of it. It's like if we could just take it all and make it all new again, then you'd be leveraging your name and your brand and be able to do that. So those options are there for you guys if you want to pursue that, and I can give you a roadmap and a guideline to show you how to, really get to every different resolution that you need in terms of quality buildings. Okay. So we'll go back to DC, and what we have available, if you guys just want to have do a initial project, we can, come up with a deal you can't refuse for these textured buildings. We have like 3 kilometers of textured buildings that we did. I think originally it was done for Autodesk, and I don't think these buildings have changed much. And they were done with really pretty good quality obliques. They're not perfect, but they look a lot better. And you can show these off and take them to the different agencies and say, hey, can you work with this stuff? And if they can work with this, can you work with these type of building resolutions, let's just say, then you can go back and maybe, find resources to, get the whole district done, which is a big, huge.
What year are those buildings? Are those 13?
Yeah, 13.
Okay.
They're 13, and then there's the textured ones are 14.
There are areas that have significant change, like around us and the waterfront. I mean, significant.
Yeah, like the development that's gone on around here, right? Down here.
Yeah. Yep, the waterfront.
Look at all the construction.
Yeah, you've got them there. Those are.
No, that's the old stuff. That's Phillips by the Sea. No, there's like 3 or 4 condo mixed use towers there and stuff like that.
Yeah. So
They don't have the buildings.
So, I mean, if you guys want to update that, we could grab 2018 Digital Globe satellite, like November 2018, and literally we give them a 10%. They get a 10% royalty or whatever, 5% royalty on it. We just work on it project by project, and you just overlay it and just use CC Modeler to replace the missing. The buildings that are now need to be put in, like here looks like something was built.
Yeah, they have Waterside. You still have Waterside Mall.
Yeah, there's stuff there that needs to be probably taken out. And to take stuff out, it's not a problem either. You just, right, you can take buildings in and out. This software here is we call it Bruce, and it's a visual information server that resides on top of Cesium, but it's all cloud-based and it holds all your data. So if you haven't defined all your software yet, that's another discussion that I can give you at least my feedback on in terms of what works and doesn't work. But that's where we stand in 2019 in terms of there's some better software, there's better bandwidth to create cloud-based solutions, and there's data around there that you can probably start with to build that you don't have to break your budget with, right? You can come up with some kind of budget and go, all right, with this, we're going to update all of our cities for our base map, and we're going to get a bunch of textured buildings, and we're going to get a bunch of SketchUp buildings, and we're going to have a nice start. And then you can show it around to, your stakeholders, and then you can get them, rally them together and see if they'll update everything and bring in more resources to bring in more content, right? That you would want. Right. So that's basically, as of today, that's what's going on. I mean, Esri's doing a lot of stuff. You guys have a big ELA, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So they have.
So we have. Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead. Tell me kind of what they've brought to you lately. I'm just curious.
We haven't. So we're going to meet. We're going to talk with them just to kind of get a little bit of a refresher. I mean, we have. Brian, who's in the room here, has been using the LiDAR data and some of the updated building footprints to build out the buildings. The LiDAR from 2018, spring of 2018. It's got the scene viewer and the published some 3D stuff. There's some pretty easy to do line of sight stuff in there. Don't have a ton of people really leveraging it yet, mostly because the buildings are old and the areas that they want to look at, like that wharf area is not done, although we're piloting that one right now.
Mm-hmm.
I guess we'll find out a little bit more about what they have.
I'm curious to see how they're approaching the planning aspects of it and the mapping aspects, and then the BIM aspects, right? This whole, process of, basically using these LiDAR generated files to create really this super high resolution data sets, because they have some kind of partnership now with, from what I understand, with Autodesk. So this is kind of the Autodesk world, right? And they give you a viewer, and you can use those kind of viewers to do certain things, right? These guys want to do, this is a big company in California, they want to do billboards, so they're going to use this as a sales tool for billboards. But it's kind of cool because we're going to build a widget where they can modify this data and modify each planar area and then measure the rooftops. I guess they want to do re-roofing and stuff too, so we're helping with that. So there's a lot of data out there. I think the one thing you want to do is you've made such a big investment in your data, you want to make sure you can use it all. Because even if you look at your Washington D.C. Geometry, the base map data that you have here, there's been a tremendous investment that's been made on this between the height study and then, in the end, when Barney did the original deal with us, with Tim, there was Google was involved, right? So there was a lot of play between the different parties to get this thing built. and done properly. You guys had all the imagery. I remember then Barney showing up at the Esri conference in a briefcase with the data. Here you go,
Right.
do it. So, you can probably, like, I can put together kind of some ideas for how you can update your data set. And if you have a shapefile on like what needs to be, I bet there's probably 1,000 buildings that need to be updated in this data set. Maybe more, maybe 10% has changed since 2013, something like that, maybe more. But I mean, 1,000 buildings, that's like, takes us 2 weeks to get all that modeled out. And then you add those to this data set and you have, voila, you got an updated base map with all the current buildings, and you don't have to wait for imagery, you don't have to wait for all these other hassles you have to do. And now that satellite shoots in stereo, you can make pretty good models. You can make pretty good quality models. So that, and then figure out how many textured buildings you guys could pull in and use would be another benefit. And then figure out what you want to do with your BIM buildings. And then you've pretty much covered all the different LODs. You've already got footprints, and you guys update those on your own. So, you can add media to this stuff. You can add multiple LODs. You can talk amongst yourself about building these scenes. And then you can relate data like parcels, or like if this is on 3 parcels, you can relate 3 parcels to this model. So there's some really good things you can do now with pretty, all subscription-based software solutions. So that's the other side of it that I could sort of enlighten, give you guys some information on.
Yeah, I do think we're trying to kind of find that balance between, like, like you said, we have these great buildings that we serve up to the public and are used here and there, and sometimes we don't even know if they're using them, but it's an investment that was made, and they're available for download, and we have services for them. But then what's having that updated, but then also like you said, the advancements in the subscription-based stuff has really come along significantly. And we're trying to kind of find a balance between what we can serve up, give to our agencies and help out with versus, having a solution that folks can use as well.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. I think, it's got to be cloud-based. Otherwise, you're really going to have to suffer. It also has to be something that you can modify and change. In other words, if there's new information for this building, you got to be able to go in there and make some changes to it, and change the name of the building and update your metadata and update not your metadata, your actual data, and associate it with things. And you just need the flexibility to do all that kind of stuff. And so I can show you what's kind of working. I think right now for like the real estate industry, the architect industry, and the cities. Those are like the 3 major stakeholders. But you also have resiliency and sea level rise and all these other things that you really need to bring in. Multiple terrain scenarios, right? Different terrain scenarios and you want to be able to look at what happens 10 years down the road with sea level rise. I don't know if you guys are going to be affected if they're perceiving that the Potomac's going to be higher or anything like that. But there's a lot of environmental planning and economic environmental planning going on. So, the new software with the new terrain data, that's all web-based, can be used. So you can sort of get that analysis going too. So there's a lot you can do. So it's, I know it's always political. Once you get momentum, then you can get more resources. So you gotta be savvy. And then once everybody sees it, they go crazy. Like senior management, they love it when they see what they want to see. Then they're like, oh, then it's worth $1 zillion, right? So I think that's another approach. And, I think it's a good time to have the conversation. Any other like major questions?
Nope.
That's pretty much the status of 3D in 30 minutes.
So some of the takeaways were you want us to look at probably just the primary buildings. I mean, we think we can come up with that. It's going to be a little challenging with the way the 2015 flight was done.
Yeah.
But if we can start with 13 to 15, and then we've got 15 to 17.
Yeah, we can probably figure out the footprint changes. What we wouldn't be able to identify are the pop-ups that did not change their footprint.
Right.
But
That's fine.
added.
Did they do a lot of that stuff from the height study? Did they allow for like you say pop-ups to add extra floors? Did they end up doing anything?
More residential.
Yeah.
Yeah, not so much on the big commercial ones and the height study or the height act. But they're one of the ways the developers getting around of it is they're keeping the existing footprint on a 2-story condo building, and then they're adding, even
residential, and then popping up another level and turning it into a condo.
Right.
So yeah, I mean, that's probably something that's a little bit hard to find on a footprint, but maybe even if you have a point file on the changes from the zoning department, or some kind of, data, then, if we have all those shape files, we can figure out what needs to be rebuilt and at least let you know. It's not going to be a budget breaker, I promise you, to update all. Now on the textured side, we can do some things. If you want to pilot anything, if you want to use some textures now, off-the-shelf textures. So I can give you, a quote on that, and it would be something that you would probably find, acceptable with your budget and what you guys want to spend and all that kind of stuff.
Are those hard deliverables that we own, or are they part of the subscription?
No, we can bundle it. In other words, we can give you a subscription, and then I'll give you the building files too. Okay. So you can use them for both. I mean, you own the DC buildings you own anyway, right?
Yeah, I mean, we would like to, if you do an update, we would like to at least offer the wireframes to the public through our open data site.
Yeah. The another thing that's really cool is that with this, like with some of the new software out now, like you talked about offer the public, here's a scenario where you literally, before the public had to look for the data for whatever way they could, now they can actually go here and they can actually go to settings and they can download not here, but they can download the building. They can actually download the file right here, right live. And that's something that hasn't been, kind of available in the past. So they can do it in 3D. So they can have a download.
What cloud provider are you using?
Amazon. It's Amazon. And then we have a visual information server that's offered by Nextbase and a company called EdgyGeo. And that can be like you can have people that can't log in, maybe that have anonymous, like you put it on your website and they can search around and you can give them a downloadable feature and they can go ahead and if they want to download something, I think the way it works, I haven't used the downloadable feature yet. It's just not developed, but I think it's, let me see, select region. So then you grab it and you just sort of go, okay, these are the oops.
So Kevin, are you saying that the next generation of 3D visualization processing is cloud and not client?
I would say I can pretty much say yes to that. I think it's all cloud. That's my opinion. Not that you're going to give up all your client stuff, because client stuff you got to keep it. You don't really have the options to just walk away from it. It's just too expensive and the switching costs are too high. And but I think the long-term trend is all cloud, for sure. And so what we can do is I can put up an overview and show you how you can basically load all these buildings. And every building, by the way, has has like a barcode and a data association. So it's all sits on your server, but then it's copied on the cloud and it's offered up. And if people want to download the building, they can just go to the building and just download it, right?
But they can't download more than one at a time.
No, they can download large groups of buildings. That's why I would.
Oh, okay.
That's what this little pen is for, where you're supposed to select the region and then it's supposed to. Oh, here we go, like that, right? I'm just doing it now. You'll see it in a second. It's taking a second on the GoToMeeting. I just turned it on. Hold on for a second. I don't know why it's not showing that. I don't see it on your screen. Oh, here we go. Okay. So you can just like cover up an area and download those as big as you want, right? If you want to download 50 buildings, you can move back and select other areas and just, just upload the buildings and then you export select, I think. I'm trying to demo it now. Then you pick your format and that's it. You download the buildings. Voila. So that could be convenient for you guys because then you're basically offering an easier way for your architects and your GIS people to download content from your site. And you have an administrative back end, that gives you can set up, open it up, and you can bring in all your layers and all your entities. You can run a dashboard. It's very user intuitive, very powerful. Cesium has always been a great product, but it never had software written on it. And this company, they wrote the visual information server on it. So it's like you just have one administrator or two administrators, and then you just offer up the scenes and the downloadable service, and then you're good to go. So that's a subscription.
Cool.
I'm kind of moving faster than than the scenes are, but you can get a feel for it. I'll show you one more thing, just real quick. The reason why I'm interested in these buildings that are offered up by Trimble, because Trimble bought SketchUp, and then they have this big, they have this big warehouse. Nobody really uses it that much for buildings, and they're really interested in more people, more access to their 3D buildings. And so what we've done is we came up with a way of using the Trimble buildings. This is what you can see here, right? These are the buildings from the Trimble warehouse. They're really high quality. And you can, bring in the CC3. These are the gray building, and then you can manipulate it, just delete the buildings that are overlapping and just save the scene. And you have these really nice, high quality buildings that you can, share or exploit. And you can also let people download it, and they could connect back to the Trimble server. So you could even give away these things on your website, which I'm sure your users would be totally happy about. And it's just a little bit of conversations that we'd have to have with Trimble to set it up. And then you can bring in all this different drag and drop data. So you can sort of share information, not just media, but you can bring in video and documents and attachments and whatever. So it's pretty flexible. So that's the latest, greatest on the subscription cloud front that's out there, and that's pretty much everything.
Cool. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So I'll follow up with an email just on our conversation, stuff we covered, and circle back. Let me know what your thoughts are, and then we'll figure out where to go from here.
Okay, great.
All right. Thanks.
All right, guys. Talk to you later.
Thank you.